And this is the next day. There are two newspapers in Evansville, the Evansville Journal and the Evansville Courier. The Evansville Public Library has been going through the process of scanning and documenting the newspapers from about 1870 up to about 1970. And they're about 70 or 80% finished right now. So once I found that one thing about New Harmony, and I just started looking these dates up, and all this stuff started popping up. You can search it now for Grace Golden, and you'll find these things. So this is the description of it, and this is from the Journal. They were appreciative. 3 stars seen to Wolf Hopper, Della, and Grace in Panjandrum, a magnificent audience. One of the largest ever assembled before in a theater in Evansville. Probably standing room only at the Grand with 1,700 plus in attendance. 50 cents. For some people. $1.50 if you're in the box, I think. Standing room was scarce and at a premium. Miss Fox is no stranger in Evansville, having frequently appeared here. Since last, she has grown stouter. Now, this picture's from 1917, but I guess that's her stoutness. But she has lost none of her beauty or vivaciousness. She takes the most pleasing role in there, and she was warmly received by the audience. Mr. Hopper is a comedian of much originality and striking personality, who no doubt met the expectations of the audience, and I think this Casey at the Bat was his specialty. So he recited, I don't know where, that didn't fit in the play. I think he just did it in between acts. He came out and recited Casey at the Bat. The part assumed by Miss Golden gave her an opportunity to display her abilities both in acting and singing. The solo which she rendered and also the duet in which she took part were splendid efforts and called for warm encores. Miss Golden was the recipient of a basket of beautiful flowers during the first act. The train from Henderson didn't leave till 7. So I don't know, I guess the play must have started at 8. And they kept playing it to multiple encores. I don't know what time those poor people were out of the Grand on this particular night. And then at the end of the first act, they gave her a basket of flowers. And now I switch to the Courier. Still Grace over there. The audience was composed of the New Harmony, Mount Vernon, and Henderson residents with Evansville citizens in the background. Was probably the largest ever assembled, so they agreed on that. The unusual interest because of Grace Golden's appearance, nothing in the opera, right, itself to attract much attention. They didn't care for the opera. They didn't care for the opera, they liked Grace. But the accomplished artists, the leading roles, and an elaborate staging, a chorus of 50, I think I said earlier, didn't it? That it made somewhat entertaining, but certainly not to such an extent that warranted the great increase in prices. So I don't know what the prices had been, but that's a great increase, right? It's a great increase in prices. The appearance of Miss Golden was the signal for loud and prolonged applause. She has not changed since her last visit to Evansville and is as charming as ever. She has 2 solos in the part of Donna Inez that gave opportunity for a display of her vocal abilities, and the audience was charmed by the excellence of her singing. So they carved out a space for Grace, even though they didn't like the play. Her voice is of great flexibility, excellently controlled, and it was demonstrated that her recognition as a leading soprano is honestly earned. In the fencing match, in which Miss Golden often assumed a leading role, her opportunities, it is thought, were greater. So they even thought that the show didn't challenge her enough. This is the one where she alternated parts with Marie Tempest. In interpreting the part assigned her in Panjandrum, Miss Golden displays great taste, and the slightest detail is not neglected. Her stage presence indicates that she is perfectly at ease and reveals her charming personality. That she pleased her friends who expected a great deal, there can be no doubt, judging from the generous applause, and her success is gratifying to all. If you think about that costume back there, how tiny she really was. 1,700 people at the Grand, packed even higher than that. She's on the stage, and she has to make herself heard back in that balcony behind that pole, right? I mean, that's part of her training, because this is all acoustic. There's no amplification. These are the performers making their voices carry back and giving this performance into that big place. The Grand was one of the best, most famous for the time period, opera houses in the Midwest. One of the pleasant events of the evening was the presentation of an elegant basket of roses to Miss Golden from her New Harmony friends. And then a reception for her at the Vendome Hotel with members right across the alley. To Miss Golden, they gave her a little flower basket. To Miss Golden's slight tribute of virtue, grace, and true excellence from her New Harmony friends, March 26, 1894. Not all reviews are glowing. I cut this out when I was doing this in Willard, but I thought I'd put it back in. A few years, she's in 1894, April 7th, a few weeks later, and the chorus was strong and all the members of the company sang well, with perhaps the exception of Miss Grace Golden, who sang several tremulous solos on the subject of love. This person was not happy with Grace. It is Willa Cather, right? And that's quite a credit for her, you know. She's an author of all those books, My Antonia, right? She was known as a meat-axe critic. She didn't cut anybody any slack if she didn't like what was going on in Omaha. She was about 21 or 22 when she wrote that, but she didn't like Grace. Everybody else did. And Grace survived it. A little more of Grace, because we get her back out of Evansville now, and we'll get her back to Broadway. And this is where I left it when I sidetracked. That's a picture I think is actually in the book over there. Those pictures were a little bit harder to get. I tried to scan that book, but I was afraid to do too much with it. She joined the Castle Square Opera Company. At that time, it was probably bigger than the Met. Eventually, they're going to merge, but it's probably a bigger company than the Met. And this is in WMI. It's a glass plate positive. And I think it was an advertising thing. If I don't have the picture, sometimes I just couldn't match a picture to a costume or a Grace. I'll come back to this. And she's in here there. Il Trovatore is Leonora by Verdi. That's still performed. And that's Grace and Il Trovatore. The Fencing Master is Francesca. Back to that again. That must have been her repertoire. Hey, Grace, we want you to do the Fencing Master tonight. Okay, I'll go. I can do it. There's a bunch of pictures of Grace and the Fencing Master. She got to do it by herself here. No sharing with Marie Tempest. Lily of Killarney is the Cullen Bond, the Fair Maid. Not done anymore that I know of. I'm not familiar with Julius Benedict even. Opera people out there, I don't know. I don't have a picture. Mignon as Mignon, Ambrose Thomas. It was very popular at the time. I don't think so much anymore, but good picture of her, I think. Martha as Martha, Friedrich von Platow, no photo. I'm going to sidebar again. Sidebar, Martha as Martha. Smithsonian Institution, Edison Motion Pictures, 1890 to 1900. Opera of Martha, second act. Grace Golden. And she's going to be singing The Last Rose of Summer, among other things. It was recorded on film and with a disc that accompanied it. It isn't done by Edison. It was done by Richard Holloman. Edison was vicious in enforcing his patents. And he sued, and he won the property. So this was turned over to him. And I hope, it could still be in the Smithsonian. I tried. They referred me, they looked. I don't know how much seriousness I had in the looking, but they said they looked. They referred me to Edison's home, and the guy there also looked and told me I really need to go back to the Smithsonian. And I think I haven't taken it any farther than that, but somewhere there was and maybe is a film of Grace Golden performing. Right? There was Marie Tempest for sure. And this was early, and this is the Castle Square Company. This is the same company doing this. So I don't know. I keep telling Amanda that I need the clout of the Indiana State Museum and the Working Men's Institute to track that down, to make them pay attention and say, let's go back and look in the archives buried underneath a stack somewhere. This is probably there. I take her back. She's back in Cavalier, Rusticana, Santuza. That one's in her repertoire too. She's just in and out of that role. The Gypsy Baron as Arsina by Johann Strauss. No picture that I could account for. Still in the Castle Square Company in 1897. Nanon, as Nanon. I think that's in the book over there. Maritana, as Maritana, William Vincent Wallace, no photo. These would play in New York and then probably tour Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, even St. Louis, right? They would be moving around the country. Mikado was Yum Yum by Gilbert Sullivan. That one's still play. I mean, that's still viable. That's out of the book over there too. Pagliacci as Nita, major role. Leon Cavallo, then Pagliacci is still around. And to look at the costume, because that's it back there. That's it. It looks pinkish. When I took this into Photoshop just really wanted to turn that red. So you think it was pink, right, Robin? Robin thinks it was pink. We can vote on that. But this is her costume. That's the hat, the bodice, the skirt, which now you can see better back there because they've taken the paper off of it. So I can't find that. That maybe all can really cross over that's completely identifiable with what she can do today. It's a little bit tough trying to figure out what's in the pictures and what's in the costumes themselves. Back to her. She was in Faust as Marguerite by Gounod. She was scheduled for the part, but her health prevented it because she has tuberculosis. Consumption, as they called it in the day. You know, today you could be inoculated against it. You could be treated for it if you catch it quickly enough. But in 1897, not so much. But there she is in the part of Marguerite, which she did not get to perform at this time in 1897. But she did come back and do the Bohemian Girl. She finished the season in 1897. You know, if you look at these pictures, she's so, as we're getting closer to these ages, look at her eyes. So I look at her eyes and I think, okay, she looks tired. I don't know if she does here. You know, back here, you're taking a photograph, you got to hold steady because the exposure time is long. So you can't be moving or anything. She returned as Mignon, and this is in the musical. This is actually in New York. This is out of the New York newspapers. It says, Miss Grace Golden, who is welcomed back to the stage, has received royal treatment since her appearance in Mignon last week at the Studebaker. She possesses excellence of interpretation and dramatic ability that win her audiences at the start. Her voice is of great range and under complete control, and her mezzo voce, half-volume work, is beautiful. Dainty, graceful, and effective in everything she does. Miss Golden is one of the best artists the company has given us. And again, that one might have been the top opera company in New York at the time for the New York newspapers to say that. And this article, that clipping is in the Golden collection at WMI.